Hello and welcome to the Dance Yourself Brave show, where we get real about the struggles dancers face, from confidence battles to self-doubt, and how dance has the power to make us braver, stronger, and more unstoppable in every area of life. I'm your host, Mariana Santos, founder of Brazili Fitness. And whether you're a seasoned dancer, a dance instructor, dance lover, or someone who's always wanted to dance but feels a little intimidated to start, this show is for you. Expect honest conversations, inspiring stories, and simple ways to bring more dance into your life, whether that's in the studio, on stage, or right in your living room. And if you're a dance instructor, we've got you covered with tips on how to grow your dance business, attract more students, and create a bigger impact through your passion for movement. So if you're ready to step out of your comfort zone, own your movement, and dance yourself brave, let's do this. Hello and welcome to the Dance Yourself Brave show. I'm your host, Mariana Santos, founder of Brazili Fitness, and I'm so excited that I have Michael Fortin here on the show today. Welcome, Michael. How are you doing?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm doing very good.
I'm just going to give a little intro to what it is you're all about. So Michael Fortin started dancing competitively as a young teen and has been dancing for 10 years. His favorite styles include tap, jazz, and contemporary. He has a large passion for choreography and dance education while being a role model for future dancers. Michael has been recognized both regionally and nationally for his dancing and is thrilled to continue teaching and working with young dancers. So I'm so excited to talk to you, especially because you talk about being a role model for future dancers, which I think is what our show is all about, right? Getting more people dancing. So why don't you start off from the beginning? Tell us about you and how you got started with dance.
Perfect. So once again, my name is Michael. I live up in southern Maine currently. Started dancing at around the age of like 13, 14. I was around a freshman in high school and I really got into the competitive aspect, but I would take classes here and there. You know, my mom would throw me in the hip hop and be like, "You're going to do it." And I was like, "Okay, I guess." So it all started when I went to a performing arts high school in Maine called Maine Arts Academy. Shout out to them. They helped me get here today. And I met the beautiful Holly Gannett. Shout out to her as well. And she just kind of took me under her wing. I took a ballet class just to try it, and I fell in love with it. And then next year, I was on the competition stage.
Wow, that was fast.
It was very quick. It was very sudden. I was like, okay, here we go. So I kind of jumped right into it. And then right from there, it just kind of skyrocketed. I switched. I ended up switching to a different studio. I jumped from summer intensives to driving down to Boston to doing all the classes down there. Like I was all over the place. It was just very sudden change in my lifestyle, going from this kid who did soccer all the way to this kid who now dance full time. Yes, that's kind of how I just got started. It was just kind of a ballet class, and
The
next
rest
thing
is
I knew, I was on the comp stage. So it was my mom was like, "Wow, okay." But it was great. I'm very grateful for being able to get to find that, you know? So it was just kind of fell into place.
Yes, I love that. And I love how, you had your support, and I love how your mom, is like, this is what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And, sometimes like as kids or teenagers, especially, we're very reluctant to listen to our parents' advice, right? But down the road, we start to realize that they knew what they were talking about, right?
Yeah.
So if we, just listening to that story, people might listen to that and be like, wow, it was just so fast and easy for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that's far from the case. So let's talk about the struggles that you faced along the way. I'm sure it wasn't just like ballet was super fast and you got all the technique down in one day, right?
Right. It all started with that ballet class, right? So going into that, everyone else had danced. Everyone else had been dancing for years and years and years. You know, they started when they were 3. And then comes this, first of all, a guy, right? Which has struggles of its own. But going into the dance world from there, competing, everyone is way above you already. So that was one of the biggest struggles, was just how do I catch up 16 years of dance, 13, 16 years of dance to get to where I am now. So thankfully, I was dancing at school and the studio. So I was getting double the amount that most dancers were getting,
Okay.
which helped a lot.
But I'm sure that was also tiring, right?
It was so tired going. Yeah, I would have ballet at 7:40 in the morning and then dance until 9 at night, 9:30 at night. So it
Wow.
was very back to back to back. So that was one of the big struggles, was just playing catch up.
Yeah.
Everyone else was beautiful 180-degree batmas and beautiful grand jetés, and here I was barely doing a split. So that was one of the biggest struggles. And I think the other thing was adapting, going from this life of, I was always around boys of soccer, which is very different than the dance life of very put together and very upright and very demure and very proper going into that life, especially competition. This is how it is. So I think that was another big switch was, okay, how do I mentally prepare myself to have a convention at 7 a.m. and then compete until 11 p.m. at night?
Wow. Yeah.
How do you do that, from nutritional changes, from workout changes, everything like that in between? So that was a big struggle. I'm also just fitting in. That was another big part. It's so hard to join late in the game, I found, because again, they've been dancing for 16 years together.
Yeah, and
All
his
these girls
friendships
at the
were
studio.
formed, right? And like,
Yes, they competed, they took their first tap class together. Moms are probably best friends, and
mhm,
here comes in this stranger that's going to break this all up now. It's
mhm,
going to ruin the illusion of this all girl, you know what I mean? Like an all girl piece that's going to be high
mhm.
in feminine energy. And now you have this guy coming in that's going to kind of take that away a little bit.
Yeah.
So that was another struggle of trying to adapt to the culture change and then just like trying to squeeze my way into this lifelong friendship
Find your
too.
space, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure that wasn't easy. And I think as a teenager, like having friends and fitting in is extra important. And
Yes.
yeah, I'm sure that wasn't easy. But how would you say like that's shaped you as a person, like going through all of that? Like, and does it affect your life today?
I think overall it's affected my life due to growing as a person. You learn to, okay, how do I mature myself so that I don't let these problems distract me? Because like you said, as a teenager, it's about fitting in.
Yep.
But at the same time, how do you make it so it's not about that? Because you're there to dance, you're there to learn, and it was very hard to find that balance.
Yeah.
But I think going through that, it's kind of taught me to, okay, I'm here and I'm going to do what I need to do. And if I make friends along the way, it's going to happen naturally, and that's great. And
Yeah,
that's
and that's a
fantastic.
bonus, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm here because I love to dance.
Mhm.
And I have my friends outside, in school, outside of dance in school. I
Mhm.
have those people who are going to support me as well. And you have other friends that are not in dance that are going to support you as well. So it's just trying to find those people that are in between that balance. And, feeling like from a guy perspective, you feel left out right from the beginning because you can't go into the changing room, especially a competition. You're sitting out by yourself. You can't, you know what I mean, when they're all going in trying on their beautiful costumes and you have a t-shirt and pants and you
Mhm.
don't feel the same joy. It's a little bit different. So those kind of life lessons you learn to just say, you know what, I deserve my spot here.
Yep.
And that's kind of that. Yes.
Yeah, so that's amazing because it takes a long time for people to develop that sense of, maturity and, knowing what's really important in life. And I think that dance makes you grow faster, right? And mature
Yes.
faster. And I'm sure that that has affected a lot of things in your life, right? Where it's like, what's important, you know what you want, and you know that your support system is going to be there and like the right people are going to gravitate towards you, and people who aren't meant to be part of your life or they're not going to support you, somehow they'll just kind of slip away. And I think that's a lesson that even 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds are still trying to learn, right?
Yes.
So it's amazing that dance has given you that at such a young age. So
Yes.
what do you think, like, because I know you teach dance,
Yes.
what do you think that is one thing that you wish your students knew about you?
I never told them I started at a young age.
Oh, okay.
And I think they'd be surprised to know that I did, especially where I am now, because that was still only 10 years ago. It's still, you know what I mean? I just hit my decade of this industry. So I think that would be surprising. And I also wish they knew that because I have a beginner dancer right now as well. And there's so many times I just want to sit with her and just tell her my story
Hmm.
and just say, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
I feel
coming
you,
into this,
right?
right? Coming into, you know what I mean? Like, especially, like I said, all these girls have been dancing for years and years, and here in comes this new girl who's never even put on false eyelashes, let
Mm-hmm.
alone been on a comp stage. And now you have to teach her everything she needs to know within 6 months so that she can be well prepared. So I think that I would tell young, like newer dancers to just say, just go with it.
Yeah.
Just go with it. Don't try so hard
Mm-hmm.
because everything follows into place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think that we have this habit of looking at our teachers and our mentors and forgetting that they were also beginners at some point. And so I think the more that we can share a story, and this is why I'm
Yeah.
starting this podcast, is so that teachers have an outlet to share their voice and communicate everything that happens behind the scenes. Because especially on social media, we have a habit of just seeing like the highlights, right? And like when everything is all rehearsed and perfectly edited, and we don't know exactly what happened to get to that point. And so I think just getting raw, getting honest will encourage more people to take that first step to dance, right? And just realize that you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to have perfect technique. You just have to start, and you have to bet on yourself and believe that
Yes.
you can do it, and that you'll
Exactly.
find the right people to support you along the way. And you'll be disappointed too with some people who you
Yeah.
think will have your back, but they won't. And
Yes.
it's funny. I was just talking to my husband about this morning. We have a business, and we find that the people who are closest to us are the people who don't share our posts, don't comment on anything. And, but then like total strangers that we've never even met are always out there commenting, sharing, and all this stuff. And you're like, so and it's hard not to take that personally. Like, well, aren't they my friends? Right. But that's
Yeah.
just the way the world is sometimes. And everyone has a lot of things going on, and you have to just realize, okay, that's just not their thing, but maybe they can support me in another way, right?
Yeah.
But it's hard not to like be like, oh, why aren't they helping me?
Yeah.
But like I said, that's something that most people take years and years to understand, right? That you just have to do you, and then
Yeah.
eventually you'll find the right people, you'll find your tribe. So what about, like, I'm sure that you have amazing success stories of students who have taken classes with you and just like things that they've told you and how you've impacted their life. What's something that stands out to you the most? Like maybe a recent story that you can share with us.
There's two examples to come to mind. I hope that's okay.
Yeah,
I
of
can do.
course.
Okay. So my first, I'm gonna jump back to last year. I took a mini break from teaching dance to finish out my college, but I went back and started teaching, and I brought a group of girls that's never competed before at a competition. And I think one of the biggest successes that I had with that was just exposing them to that world, giving them that opportunity, but and also getting recognized for their work because they were finally able to be on the stage. And when they won that, won a scholarship award or they won an overall award, it was that recognition. And I think that so like seeing their faces of like feeling that empowerment of just being like, wow, I earned this recognition. I earned this. And I think that was a success in itself, just opening up their eyes to this whole other world that exists. So that's one of my favorite ones. And then this past weekend we just competed in Derry, New Hampshire, and this was the first for some of the girls. It was their first time competing ever. So and they actually ended up winning overall for their category. They won overall high score, and I think yes. So and I think that kind of just boosted their confidence right there, right? And I always say, I want to preface, I always say it's not about the award because I'll buy you an award. If you want a trophy, I'll go make you a trophy, right? I but it's more about the getting recognized and just seeing that proudness and like when I going up on stage to take that picture and they're all jumping up and down like, oh my God, we did it. You truly created something, you truly built something. Not only confidence, but you're empowering these young dancers and you're showing them that it is possible to be recognized for your work, no matter if you're a beginner or you're an advanced dancer and you won the Platinum Princess Pro Award for so I think that just this past weekend was definitely a reflection of, not only my work, but like how I've impacted these dancers as well.
Yes, that's beautiful. And like the two words that stick out for me there are empowerment and confidence, because
Yes.
that to me, in a nutshell, is what dance is all about.
Mhm.
Because you have these students that you're teaching, and maybe some of them will go on to have a career in dance, and maybe some of them won't, but those skills and like that belief that they're building in themselves will benefit them no matter what path they choose. Because if you want to start a business, you need to believe in yourself. If you want to be a lawyer, you need to believe in yourself. If you want to be a doctor, same thing, right? So just that belief is so crucial to our growth. And I think that over the years, like, with technology, with this instant gratification of, snapping our fingers and getting things handed to us, we're starting to forget that the things that are worthwhile in life take time. They take grit, and they take, falling down, getting back up. And what better way for you to learn that than through dance at a young age
Right.
or not, right? That it's never too late for you to start dancing. So if you feel like you don't have confidence in yourself, you feel like things are always, too tough for you, or you don't believe in yourself, like find a dance class, a beginner dance class, any kind of dance class, and get moving and see how that transforms you, like one class at a time. I think that's the beauty of it.
Exactly. And like going back, I teach adults, and all my adults this year are brand new. And you can just see the amount of confidence that they have from taking their first adult tap class, learning a shuffle, to now we're doing, buffaloes and time steps. So you kind of see not only their growth, but they're fulfilling maybe a childhood dream that never happened. Maybe mom or dad couldn't afford dance at the time.
Exactly.
And now here they are, 34, even older. I've taught a 50-year-old how to tap. And you just see their face light up when their inner child come in, and that's a reward in itself. Exposing these people and fulfilling that dream that they might have had years and years ago, and now they're getting that opportunity.
And it's beautiful. Like, I'm more in the dance fitness world, so my dance is simpler than the technique that you're used to. But even then, the class that we teach is a little bit more choreographed than, let's say, Zumba, right? So people, when they come to our class, like, they're like, whoa, what is this? Especially if they've never danced before. Seeing how by like the second, third song, they start to loosen up. And then towards the end, like, they're just like, wow. And they're smiling, and they're like, when's the next class? And they're like listening to, your playlist at home and stuff. And it's amazing. But the only reason that they were able to experience that was because they allowed themselves to take that first step. And when we're always, resisting change and resisting anything that's new, we end up missing out on beautiful things in life. And sometimes it could be because of our own limitations or limiting beliefs, or because of what other people, of fear of judgment. And I think it's beautiful to showcase how, you can start at any age, and it's never too late to follow your dreams.
Right. Exactly.
And what would you say is the impact that you're looking to make in the world?
I think there's a bunch of things that I want to make an impact with. And I think one of the first things that come to mind is something that I feel very passionate about. I could talk about this topic for hours, but I know we have limited time.
We have time.
Yes. So my biggest thing is flexibility. Coming in late, I was never flexible. And I think that in this world, we really, really push flexibility, and we push how high can you get your leg? Can you pull it all the way over to the other side? Can you hold it for a minute? How high is your development? All these beautiful things. And I think that sometimes we forget that some of us are not built flexible, and some of us just can't get there due to, the body just can't. And I really push, you do not need to be flexible to be a dancer, right? Like tap dancers, they're never, ever, rarely are going to do an aerial in, a 20-second, leg hold, the tilt, right? And I really push that because I think that holds a lot of people back. Like, if you look at any of my routines, they barely will, if ever, have anything flexible in them, just because it's not important. It's important to be flexible in a fitness aspect, but overall, when you're dancing, I don't care about your leg, how high you can get it. I don't care if you have a beautiful arabesque that's hyperextended. A lady down the street has one. I more care about your passion, your artistry. I really like to push. Okay, you've been taught to contract your whole entire life, but how are we going to do that to make it look beautiful? How are we going to do that to make you feel like you're doing something empowering? So that's what I really, really push, is the flexibility. It's not a big topic as what we make it out to be, especially in the competitive world. It pushes people away, and that makes me sad, because I know a lot of girls that come take my, teen classes, and they don't compete, and they say, well, I'm not flexible enough. And I say, you don't have to be flexible. You don't have to be flexible. You don't have to have a split. You don't have to have a beautiful leap. I could care less about that. If you have the technique and if you have the passion for it, why aren't you doing it?
Exactly. And you also don't have to win every single competition, right?
No,
Just
no.
the experience of being there, right? And putting yourself out there is amazing in itself. And just
Mhm.
get, but then sometimes because, like you said, they're so focused on the flexibility, they're missing out on that experience.
Yeah. And it's turned into this trick fest of, like this past weekend, how many aerials can you do in a routine? When I'm sitting there, and I'm like, well, I've seen your aerial 4 times on your right side. I don't need to see it for the fifth time, kind of deal. And I think, watching that from even like a novice standpoint, you see why not doing that? Why is my leg not that high? And it's like I said, it's intimidating, and emotionally it holds you back. And I think that we need to break that barrier right from the get-go, right as it is. Break it, push through it. You do not need to have the highest leg to be the best. And even if you are, you know what I mean. I've seen pieces, place or get choreography awards that don't even have a batma, like a kick or a leap. I've seen it, so it's definitely doable. And for me, I think the other thing that we need to learn is that the dance world is all about winning. That's what we've come to, is win, 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 win. It's very much I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get the trophy and the crown and the sash. And like I said at the beginning, if you want a trophy, I'll go down the street and buy you a trophy. I'll make you a trophy. I could care less about the trophy or the pin or the banner. I more care about how are we going to take this opportunity and improve. That's what we need to start asking ourselves is, I'm going to go try out for this cruise ship. I didn't get the job. Why did I not get the job? What's going to what am I going to do differently next time to get myself on the ship or get myself into Disney, if that's what you want to do, or into this job? What am I going to do differently to improve myself? Not,
Having
you
that
can't ask me.
resilience, right?
Yes, you can't ask yourself, how are you going to improve to get a trophy? How are you going to improve to be a better dancer? And that's what we have to go back to, that root, because like I said, it's become this big competition world of, oh, look, they got first place, they got this trophy, they got the studio award. How are we going to beat them in that aspect? It's not about that. It's about learning how we can improve ourselves as individuals and as a team.
And yeah, it's so true because it's so easy to get caught up in all the technique and the rules and even like that comparison to like all the dancers around you and just never feeling like you're going to reach that level. And it's really not what it should be all about, right? Like you said.
Mhm.
I love that. What do you think that the world needs more of nowadays? Not just the dance world, but the world in general. Like, what are we missing?
I think we are missing acceptability. I think a big part of it now is we've become, our society, just as a whole of the world, has just become very like picture perfect. And I think we just need to have more acceptability and diversity and differences in and out of, like you said, in and out of the dance world. I think that's a big part of it. And just learning how to adapt and learning how to make quick changes to things and how to, not care about what other people think of you and be confident in yourself. I think many people need to learn to take a step back, breathe, take a second, a minute, breathe for a second, and just reflect and just look and see, how can I regain this confidence back, or how can I regain my life back? Because I think a lot of us are falling into these traps of, well, this is what life says I have to do, so I'm going to do it. Life says I have to work a 9 to 5 job and then go home, make dinner, go to bed.
Yeah.
That's life.
Yeah, or social
Well,
media shows this influencer who has a picture perfect life. Why isn't my life
yeah,
like that?
yes.
So I
Like,
think that's, become even more dangerous over the years because we just think that when life is hard for us, we must be the problem. When really life is just hard sometimes.
it
Right?
is. It is.
So, and the people posting on social media, they're not necessarily posting about the hard times, right? They're just talking
No.
about their wins. And yeah, like I said, like the highlight reels, right? And that's not real life.
And like I always, every competition from the dancer standpoint, even if they lost, I post something about it.
Yeah.
Like, they got a platinum adjudication. Congratulations. You don't need to win at life at everything. You need to fail in order to, like I said, take a step back and say, what did I do wrong? And how am I going to move forward from this? lesson am I going to take that's going to make me a stronger individual and more marketable for myself for my future, whether it be a new job, whether it be a new location, no matter what, how are you going to take that experience and grow and turn it into something beautiful?
That I love that because that's exactly what I want to showcase on this show is just that power that dance has to build your resilience, to keep going, to be comfortable with failing and getting back up and trying again and doing it until it's right and being okay with that and understanding that it's a journey and it's who you're becoming along the way that's important. It's not just the end goal. And there's a reason why, like sometimes we don't understand, but there's a reason why we didn't get that audition or we didn't get that job. Sometimes like we could be being prepared for something even greater. We get frustrated. And it's of course like human nature. Like we're allowed to get frustrated, but okay, feel those feelings and then be like, okay, now what's next? Right.
Exactly.
And I think that's, yeah, I love it. I think that we totally are on the same page, which is amazing because, and that's why I've been enjoying doing these interviews because I can see that most dancers, that is where their heart is at. Like I haven't had one interview so far where they've been like, yes, I just wish that dancers like nail technique faster and like they were more flexible. Like, or they just have to win every single competition, right?
Yes.
But somehow, like there are still people out there that think that that's what's necessary to dance and to even like as like an activity recreationally, not in a competitive side. Like they still feel like they have to be at a certain level to start, and that's just not the case.
It's not, coming from someone who took a ballet class and didn't know, anything. Here I am 10 years later, working in the field itself and, traveling to all over New England, and I teach now. So there's definitely a career path there, no matter the age. No matter the age, there's always an opportunity to start.
Love that. So what advice would you give to someone who is looking to start to dance and, keeping in mind that maybe more, adults are listening to this podcast. So someone who has that fear, that resistance, like maybe they're a little bit curious, but they're still, they're a little scared. What would you say to them?
I would say, first off, research your studios in the area. See for if they offer adult classes and what levels they are, because sometimes an intermediate class means an advanced class and vice versa. So make sure you do that research, especially where a beginner class can mean something more. So do that research. And I always say go with a friend. It's so much more fun if you can get someone to go with you. If you have the courage to go by yourself, you go, girl. You go take that class. But I always say, if you have someone to go with you, like when you go to the gym, if you have someone to go with you, you're more off to have a good time, and you're more off to get a better workout. And you know what I mean? So I say that, and I also say, don't let cost stop you. If if that's something that's a problem, I always say there's ways around that. A lot of studios will work with you on it. And if not, then they weren't the studio for you. That's something that I find, especially where I work now, my studio that I teach at, we're very acceptable in that matter about dance is expensive. Shoes are expensive. So
and
how
the
can we
world
make
is
it?
expensive nowadays, right? Everything's expensive. So that's a real barrier for people right now. It's not just, they're not prioritizing. No, it's because there are too many priorities right now that are too expensive, like
Exactly.
eating and having a roof over your head.
Exactly. And I think that's other aspect that holds people back is that expense. So just trying to see and just, say, well, I don't want to pay for a month. Can I pay for just one class?
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll let you come try a class for free. So I think just asking those questions and just going from there. And then last and not least, I always say go in with the intention to have fun. Don't go into work, because if you go in with that mindset of, okay, I need to get this step right away, you're going to become frustrated. Go in, have fun, laugh at yourself, because you're going to
We'll
fail.
do
That's
that
okay.
more.
That's how you learn, right? I fall at least once a day, and I laugh at myself because I'm like, oh my gosh, you have to laugh at yourself.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people go into that mindset of, well, I have to nail it right away. And you don't. You don't.
You don't.
There are people out there who have worked on steps for years and still don't have those steps. And now they're dancing professionally. So there's always that aspect of it, that just go in with a huge smile on your face, ready to have fun, bring a friend if you can, and just breathe and just let it happen, because you never know who you're going to meet. You never know where it's going to take you. Maybe you'll find yourself, doing a recital or entering the dance world and teaching in a couple years. You never know.
Yes, you never know. And I think that as adults, maybe someone has, a solid career. They're very confident in what they do. So their life has become routine, right? Because they're comfortable
Yes.
doing what it is they do every day. So then when they jump into something completely new, they expect to have that same comfort level. And that's just not realistic. Just be okay with doing something new. And maybe that's what you need in your life. Maybe part
Yes.
of what's missing is in your life is that fact that you don't have anything that's forcing you to grow. Like maybe it's become very repetitive and you're doing the same thing day in, day out, and you need something to kind of step out of that routine to feel more
Yes.
alive. And that's how we feel alive, is when we're challenging ourselves. But most people don't want to admit that. You just feel amazing when everything is perfect in your life. But in
Yes.
reality, it's going through that process.
And I think another huge part of it is, like you said, is that, going back to, we wake up, we eat breakfast, we go to work, we come home, we make dinner, and we go to bed, and we do it again, right? And especially when most dance classes are on a Tuesday or Wednesday, it's very hard, especially taking into account if you have a family, if you have kids, who's going to watch your kids? Can you bring them to dance class
Yeah.
with you? Can they sit there? Is there, can dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever, significant other, can they come in and watch baby? How is that all going to work? So I think that's another aspect that holds people back, is just families. Just how can I make this work for myself? Because we all, as humans, most of us as families, we put our kids first and we put our family first,
Mhm.
right?
I'm
And
a
I think
mom,
some,
so I can relate.
yeah, and like growing up, I told my mom all the time, she'd be doing all these things. I'm like, Mom, take a second, breathe, go do something for you.
Mhm.
Go for a walk, go grab a coffee, go shopping at Target. I don't, you know what I mean? Do something for you. And I think that's the big lesson that we have to push, is that it's it's for you and you come first. You know,
By you
I
taking care of yourself, you're able to show up better for the people that need you
yes,
most, right? And that
yes,
your loved ones. So, and I think that, yes, like we have a lot of this habit of thinking like, oh, taking care of myself, I'm being selfish, when it's the furthest thing from being selfish.
yes,
And I think too, like, one of the things that maybe COVID gave us as a gift is, all these online offerings now. So if you're really unable to get to a studio, maybe, let's think of people, maybe a single mom or someone who doesn't have a car, or they just really can't get out to a studio. There's so many
yes,
online classes that you can take, even free classes on YouTube that you can do, right? So
yes,
like no matter what, start. And
definitely.
then maybe that's your starting point, and then you fall so in love with it, and then things change in your life, and now you're able to find a class a month that you could take, and then
Mhm.
a class a week, and build from there.
Yes,
So but just find something that fits your schedule and that isn't overwhelming, right? Because I think because I'm a mom, I know what it's like to be like, who's going to stay with my daughter for me to do this? And
yes,
it's a lot of obstacles that we have to overcome to get that me
yes,
time, right?
yes.
Yeah.
And like, I know, like, one of my adults, I mean, two of my adults, I have a family of three that comes in, and both mom and dad take class, and their son will sit in the waiting room, and they'll, you know what I mean? And he'll sit there and color. And, and I talk to my boss, and I'm like, hey, can we maybe have someone sit here and just kind of, if you're here, could you just keep an eye on him? He'll have coloring stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even just asking, hey, I can't make this work unless this happens. I
Yes.
mean, thankfully, we have one of our other instructors who comes and takes classes on Tuesdays, brings her daughter. And
Okay.
so she'll kind of, like, you know what I mean, take care of him and just watch him while parents are there dancing. So it kind of like just works out, and you never know.
Yeah.
Maybe someone else in the same situation, maybe you have a 4-year-old and they have a 10-year-old. Maybe there's a bond there. Maybe there's something that can happen there like that too. And I think that's, another aspect to look into. What resources are someone else must be struggling too.
Yep.
It's not just you.
And
Someone else in the world, I promise you, someone else is struggling with the same problem.
yes.
There's ways around it. And I
Yeah.
think
And you
people
just,
just they see a
like you
conflict
said,
and they stop.
you just have to
Yeah.
communicate it, right?
Yes.
And yeah, and like you said, if people aren't willing to adjust, then like you said, not the studio for you, and that's okay,
Exactly.
right? But yeah, even for our classes, I've had people in the past be like, I don't know where I'm going to leave my daughter. I'm like, bring her. She can play with my daughter, Bella. Like, what's the big
Exactly.
deal?
I'm like,
Like,
I even in my adult classes, I'm like, bring them. They can sit and watch.
yeah.
Do you know how amazing that is to see mom and dad do something for them?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Just I bring them. I would love to meet your kid.
Yes, I
Yeah,
love
bring
that.
little Susie. You know, all the power. If she wants to dance too, throw her in.
Exactly, exactly. I sometimes get Bella, sometimes depending on her, she's only 4, right? So
Yeah.
very up and down with her mood.
Yeah.
So some days she wants to dance, and some other days, like if she goes down while I'm teaching, she'll just like grab onto my leg and not let go. And I'll be like calling my husband, like, okay, gotta grab her now. but, but none of the people who come to my classes like complain about her being there or anything, right? They love seeing her. And for the most part, like if you have the right people around you, they're gonna be understanding. So
Right.
just find your tribe.
Exactly.
Take some time, but it's worth it.
Yes.
So please share like how people can get in touch with you. Maybe they're in your area, they want to take classes with you. Anything you'd like to share, your website, so they can reach out.
Yeah, so my Instagram is Michael J. Fortin. Pretty same for Facebook as well. Instagram's the best way to get a hold of me. Always on Instagram. Always on Instagram. And an email. My email is michaeljfortindance@gmail.com. So reach out. I promise I don't bite. I promise I don't bite. I love interacting with new people. I love talking to new people. Even if you just want to talk, I love to hear stories and I love to help people.
Nice. And I'm going to include all of that in the show notes, so it's nice and easy for people to click and get in touch with you. But thank you so much. I love this conversation, and I love how you're so focused on changing things for future dancers so that they feel more included and more supported. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Of course, and we'll have to have a part 2 at some point, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And thank you for tuning in to the Dance Yourself Brave show. My name is Mariana Santos, and if you're new around here and this message inspired you, make sure to leave us a comment, a review, subscribe to our channel, and share with someone who might need this message today. And remember to keep dancing yourself brave. Catch you next time. Thanks for tuning in to the Dance Yourself Brave show. If today's episode got you hyped, inspired, or just made you want to bust a move, do me a favor. Subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear today's message. Sharing is caring after all. And hey, don't forget, your courage is already in you. Sometimes you just gotta dance it out to feel it. Catch you next time. Keep shining and keep dancing yourself brave.